Hey everybody, it is Fabrizio Aiello. Thanks for joining. Today I'm going to be inking some Hawkman as soon as I get some background music. Alrighty, so yeah, welcome to What is Fabrizio Inking. Today I'm going to be inking some fan art. I have sort of like an old man Hawkman thing going. I don't really do fan art too often, but I thought it'd be a nice change. This is actually the original thumbnail. Hey Blue Teddy, how's it going? Metatron's Cube, how's it going? Thank you. Yeah, it was really fun. Again, I don't really do fan art very often, so it was really fun to kind of play around with something else. We'll see how it goes. I do think this is going to take quite some time though, so this will be probably multiple streams. We'll see. Yeah, 11 by 17 for one character is quite a bit. You know, if you have multiple characters, it's one thing, but like cramming one character into 11 by 17, he just feels huge. So I kind of made him like crouch down a little bit. Hey Blake, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Yeah, the last few inks that I tried to do on stream, I have to admit they didn't work out for me. So I had to bail on them. I haven't bailed on a drawing in quite some time, but I jumped too quickly to the inks. Normally I have really tight pencils, and I'm like, well, again, I was going to try something new. I'll jump to the inks a little quicker before really fleshing out all of the pencil, and it was just a little too early. I didn't have everything worked out that I needed to. So for this, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be as tight as I can possibly make it. That way, during the drawing or during the inking, if I want to update it, I can. You know, if I want to tweak it on the fly, that's one thing, but not having everything down at first gets a little daunting sometimes. Hey Red Centric, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. Now, all cards on the table. I haven't read a bunch of Hawkman, so I grew up mostly with Marvel. There was a mini-series, a Hawkman mini-series. I think it was a 4-issue mini-series, maybe mid-80s, something like that. So that's like the Hawkeye I have in my head. What's happened since then, I have no clue about. So if there are any Hawkman fans out there, I don't know if I'm committing blasphemy doing this or not, but I always loved that miniseries. I can't think of the name of it, but it's like mid-80s, 4-issue miniseries. It was pretty cool. So I'm definitely going to be jumping around a lot in the beginning here. Just getting some of this, I don't want to call it an outline, but getting some of the form roughed in. Actually, I'm going to zoom in a bit. Yeah, I remember there's this part in that miniseries where Hawkman is like just like wrapping his fists with leather bands, and he's got like some spikes on the knuckles, and that always kind of stuck with me. I always thought it was cool imagery. I don't know if he always has that, or that was sort of an old thing, or what. Well, if you are, at least it's gorgeous blasphemy. That's got to count for something. That's true. If it's good blasphemy, then I think it's acceptable. And not just in art. I think in general. Like if you're swearing and you come up with the best combination of swear words, I think it's okay. I don't think anybody can blame you. I did do a quick search for like some Hawkman art just to see kind of what his armor, I guess, is. I didn't look too closely. The only thing I noticed, which I kind of shied away from, is like a giant hawk nose, and in some instances it was like huge, which I thought was a little much. I mean, I get, wanting to show that he's a hawk, but it just seemed extraordinarily, almost comically huge. Like he was, I don't know. So I wanted to keep that idea that he's got the hawk nose, but geez, doesn't look like a clown. Yeah, let's take a closer look at the thumbnail, just because I think this is kind of interesting. So this was the original thumbnail. I was just kind of doodling, trying to fill up 11 by 17. So it's not the same for sure, but the concept's the same. Like his arms are switched, location. He's definitely hunched down in this quite a bit more. I still really like that, but sometimes you can't keep the same feel of a thumbnail, and sometimes you actually don't want to. As cool as it looks as a thumbnail, if you blow it up and just try to trace it, it could look kind of weird. I always think of it like D&D miniatures. So the proportions on those are not actually like accurate proportions. They're always off, and they kind of need to be. Whenever you get to a certain scale, things will get lost if you stick to regular like proportions. So when you're drawing that small, you just naturally tweak proportions, and then if you blow it up, you'll notice that you'll notice those really small errors that you made are enhanced whenever you blow it up. His beard is going to be really fun to do. Metatron's Cube. I got an opaque projector just for blowing up tiny sketches up that I don't want to redo. That's actually that's a way better approach. I've always scanned them in and resized them and printed them out, lightbox kind of stuff, and that's such an ordeal. So I don't do it. If I had a projector, that would be really nice. I've used it for murals too, but no one... Oh wow, that's cool. I've never done a mural. They always look tough to me, that's for sure. Working at that scale is just a whole other skill set. I've really loaded up my brush. Maybe a little too much, to be honest. Yeah, you really can't rush something this big. I mean, this is a long haul here. This is hours and hours. I don't know if the music I've picked is too chill, not enough. I've always been threatening to write my own music. I just don't have time. And it could be terrible, who knows? There's definitely music that is more conducive to drawing. When I was very young, I used to do a fair amount of watercolor, and I remember I had went out to this farm and did a really nice watercolor. It was really happy with it. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm like 90% done with this. You know, I'll just take it home. I'll just tweak a few little things here and there, and that'll be done. Well, I took it home. I set everything up, and in my head, 5 or 10 minutes, and this is going to be done. I put on an album, and I remember too, this was like Metallica, the Black Album, and I overworked the heck out of it. All of my colors went dark. It just completely ruined the tone of this like farm, like quiet morning watercolor. turned to this like dark, muddy thing. So it actually has quite a bit of an effect on what you do. Can actually use your own music files for the background loop. Yeah, I don't see why not. I was planning on it, and I thought I saw where you could do that. I'm just using Google's free whatever that I've used a ton. That gets kind of old. Although for Hawkman, I don't know, metal might actually work. Might be a little more appropriate. Darn it. There's a lot of feathers, but they are not books. So that's kind of how I look at it. Got the new merchandise campaign going with hoodies and blankets, which is really fun. The Horace H. Hoover blanket is just it's a one-off, and it's actually one of my favorite drawings I've done so far of Horace H. Hoover. He's in his library, and I really just packed the library with as much stuff as I could think of. And there's nothing random in there. There's callbacks to older stories. There's foreshadowing for new stories. It's really fun. Hey Reverend Saber, how's it going? Metatron's Cube, I ordered a hoodie and the blanket. Oh man, thank you so much. Yeah, that library shot is really fun. I think eventually I'll do a video on just that drawing and go through and basically explain everything in the shot. I thought that would be kind of fun. I was really trying to get this done for the auction on Saturday. Just couldn't make it. Doing fan art like this, again, it's not something I ever really do outside of the Alterna characters. But it lets you, really lets you work on things that are so outside of the norm. Like for Horace H. Hoover, I mean, I'm not doing stuff like this, that's for sure. And that's not to say that I never will, but sort of like a knight and armor and all this kind of stuff. Just fun to mix it up a bit. Hey Ben, how's it going? Thanks, I appreciate it. Captain Goodnight, that drawing on the blanket has a globe with pins in it. One of the pins is in the Atlantic. Maybe that's where the Titanic sunk. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, that globe that you see in that drawing, I think in the first issue too, there's a shot of the globe. And basically that's his revised globe. So, that's where he puts the Pocket Universe's entrances, and that's where he essentially just corrects the globe. Also the map behind him. So that's his way to I don't know, just keep track of all of the different universes and where things go. But to him, he's like, this map of New York is completely wrong. When you go down 24th and Broad or whatever, that takes you to the mountain of blah blah. So he just sees it as it's just wrong. So he's fixing it. Alright, I did quite a bit on the left-hand side. The ink should be dry enough to pop over to the right. Now I really should have started on the right, And you would think by now that I would remember that, but I still started on the left. Revan Saber, I'll keep an eye out for this one if it's available at the next auction. Hawkman is one of my favorites. Oh, cool. Yeah, I might just post it like on my website or something for sale in the meantime. I don't know when the next auction is or anything like that, so if I do, though, I'll post, I'll make sure that I put a post on Twitter. And I'm completely off. Sorry to keep moving the camera, but with a drawing this big, sometimes it's hard to make sure I'm actually on the camera, in the frame. So if Hawkman is your one of your favorites, Revan, hopefully I'm doing him justice. I was saying that I haven't read anything since this short. It was a miniseries in the '80s, like a four-part miniseries, and that is kind of my vision of Hawkman. I haven't really read much outside of that, so I don't know a ton. But I always loved the character design, and that miniseries always was always pretty cool. I'm trying to think of who the artist was. I can't think of who it is though. It was nice art. He already has that Hawkman feel. Cool. Thank you. Again, I'm off the frame here. Might switch up this loop. It's starting to bother me a little bit. See if I can find something a little better. I'll try this for a bit. Oh, they're singing. I'm not a fan of the singing. There, here we go. Little jazzy. Every time I do these streams, I'm like, all right, I need a fresh cup of coffee to start the stream, and then it just sits right next to me. Seems like a shame. Bet nothing like cold coffee after 2 hours. I know. I always have the best intentions. And I'm like, aha, this coffee, this is going to get me through it. I'm going to be on top of it with this coffee. The best part is having coffee right next to your inkwell. Or dirty water, depending on what you're doing. And either dipping your brush into your coffee or almost drinking the dirty ink water, which I have done on several times. Almost. I haven't actually, but it's been like you pick up the cup and you're like, oh, that will probably kill me. There is quite a bit of black on the character, and normally I would ink that not at the beginning, but it depends. It depends when I would do that. but there's so much black ink on this one. I'm going to wait till the very end, because if not, paper might warp, and then that makes everything else difficult at that point. So any large spots of black, I will probably wait until the very end. Red Centric, your lines on the helmet already have the shiny. Thank you. Yeah, that's going to be like the selling point for the armor, is all the reflective stuff. And to be honest, a big part of something like this is having shiny armor, soft skin, feathers, leather, and like those different textures really make for a dynamic looking piece. Sometimes having one texture across the whole thing just kind of bores your eyes. Yeah, these feathers are gonna take quite a bit of time. So basically what I'll do is I'll pop in over on this area. I'll do a couple of feathers, then I'll jump out and do another part. Jump back in, a couple of feathers. Because if not, it can get pretty tedious. And as soon as something becomes tedious, you're going to do a pretty bad job at it. I don't know, does Hawkman have perfectly manicured nails? Is there a Thanagarian nail salon? Is that right? Thanagarian, right? Something like that. Yeah. In my entire sort of childhood, the amount of DC comics I read, maybe a handful, honestly, until I got quite a bit older, moved out, and had access to more comics. Revan Saber, yep. I got it right. Yeah, there was a couple other characters that I was thinking of doing. One was the Creeper, which for some reason, I don't know why, I've always loved the Creeper so much. It's just a wild character design, color scheme. So I was thinking about doing the Creeper and Doctor Strange. Those are the two that I've always wanted to do, that I just never got around to. So, much in the same way, I'm going to do the wings and all the feathers. I'll be working on his beard that way. So essentially, I'll jump in, do a little bit of it, and then jump back out. So that'll definitely slowly come together. So normally for hair or beards, you really wouldn't draw every strand. But when it's something this big and a beard like that, you're virtually drawing every strand. Not 100%, but you're getting pretty close. A lot closer than you would if this was the size of, one panel on a 5-panel page. Metatron's Cube. I never read a lot of DC either. Dipped in and out of Batman and Green Lantern and the giant-sized animals. Yeah, it's... I guess that's the eternal thing. You were either DC or Marvel. They were such different stories, such different character designs, that one just appealed to some people and the other ones appealed to other people. Although I did always like JLA International. There was an Arrow. There was a chunk of those books that I got that I loved, but I think that was just because of Guy Gardner. He was such a different character than I'd ever read before. I really want to make sure that the armor doesn't look too clean. I feel like I feel like stores pushed Marvel more in my area too. Yeah, I think it just depended on the stores and what they were into. So yeah, I'm almost 50 minutes, 50 minutes into this, and you can see how much more there is to do. So I will be jumping around for the ink streams. I have another Horace H. Hoover one that I want to do, so I'll kind of bounce back and forth a little bit over the next week or so. You know what I might do is one of those drawings that I started that really didn't go anywhere and then I kind of bailed on. Maybe I'll pull that out. I don't know if I threw it away or not, just to kind of show what went wrong. But I'm just not 100% sure that I saved it. Thanks, Metatron's Cube. Yeah, I'm actually really digging this. Again, it's just really different. It just kind of gives it a little more, I don't know. I get to work, I do different textures than I don't normally do, and different compositions and all that kind of stuff. These leather straps are really fun to do. It's kind of like Slurp, how he has those bands going across his chest. Kind of like a geisha or some sort of maybe Japanese garb or something like that. They're just really fun to do because you have these like highlights that pop. Can pop, I should say. So we have a lot started. So we kind of have a little bit of wait, is this a Morning Star or a Mace? Damn it, I always get those confused. I am definitely not being slavish to my pencils. Even though this is a really tight pencil drawing, you know, wherever I think I can tweak it, I do. But having that very detailed pencil drawing underneath, Mace, yeah. Kind of gives you a little freedom to mix things up. Because you're not searching for the outline, which is usually the most important thing. That's already there, so you can play around with everything outside of that. Morning stars are on a chain. Yeah, I always get those confused. I shouldn't. I have played D&D before. In fact, me and some friends are playing for the first time in many, many years and it has been pretty darn fun. Usually at this point, I have a feel for the trouble areas. Since I've jumped around enough, kind of roughed out some areas, I kind of know where things might potentially, I don't know, cause me a little anxiety or stress. Because they have to be dead on, you know, I can't mess up the line at all. And kind of where I'm at right now is, I think all the major sort of silhouettes and textures are kind of like the language for all of the textures are in. So I kind of have a feel what I'm going to do for all of that. I'd say the main thing is how I'm going to be handling his arm. Although, I mean, I know how I'm going to handle it, but I haven't sort of done a test on it, let's say. I'll wait for that next time, though. Captain Goodnight, hey, how's it going? Where does the pressure on the brush come from that controls the line weights? Are you controlling it from your fingertips, from the position of your hand resting on the page, the knuckles? It is, I mean, it's really the fingers. If it's small, so if I'm doing just really like this, so if I'm doing these lines right here, this is from your fingers. But the bigger the stroke essentially depends on where it's coming from. So for this arc here, that would be my wrist. And then I don't have any scenarios here necessarily, but for a you know, if I did something like this, then it's my whole arm. So it's kind of a combination of all of them. I hope that answered that. But as far as like line weight and variation, that's definitely just your fingers. Alrighty, we are almost at an hour, which is usually my time to pack it up here. A few more minutes. So usually, as I'm winding down, I don't want to do anything too delicate or difficult. So that definitely means, you know, doing some of the feathers. Yeah, I think I started to talk about how I want to make sure the armor looks a little banged up. I don't want to go too far, but I definitely want to show that he's been in some battles. Totally off again. Sure, no problem, Captain Goodnight. Alrighty, it is 9 o'clock, so I think that's it. Let's take a look to see where we're at. Yikes. Yeah, so got some progress, kind of jumped around a bit, and I just spilled some ink there. I'll have to figure that out later. Yeah, but I jumped around a lot. I got a decent amount of, like, the silhouette roughed in, some textures, just kind of some roadmaps for what I'll do next time. Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. I appreciate everybody jumping in chat. I will be continuing this, and then there's another Horse Age Hoover one that I'm really excited about that I'll be probably inking later this week. Thanks again, everybody. Have a good evening. It's just dirt coming off them. That's a good point. Maybe I'll have some splatter. I never do splatter. You know what? I'm going to try splatter. Anyway, all right. Have a good night. Bye.